Welcome to the Forging Podcast, where our mission is to forge guys into godly husbands, fathers, men, and leaders in their communities. We push out of our comfort zone, face our fears, and grow stronger every day. We strive to be selfless providers, dangerous protectors, loving husbands, fathers, and friends. I hope you all enjoy the podcast. So you're telling me that when you're flying them airplanes, you got issues with birds?
Oh yeah, yeah. There's airports are pretty, especially these ones around here. These little airports. There's wildlife all around them, like deer, turkeys, and I'm sure it's not just Russellville, but in Russellville, there's always like 100 buzzards hanging out at one end of the runway.
Okay.
So when you take off, you got to be ready. If they fly, you got to be ready to dodge them. Of course, they don't want to get hit either.
Well, yeah.
So they're dodging you too. But it's it can get a little
dicey,
a little testy sometimes.
So like when you're up at altitude, because how high do you normally fly? Because
in mine, it's usually like 3,000 feet, you know.
So you're dealing with birds up there?
No, not usually.
So really your issue with animals is on the ground more than
usually, yeah.
Up in, okay,
yeah,
I'm thinking
they're
like,
not that high.
I'm thinking you're up there cruising along and some buzzard just flies right in front of you and you have to fillet it up with your propeller.
It's when you're around the airport usually. I mean, sometimes you know how buzzards do. If they smelling something dead or whatever, they'll have a circle that they're flying pretty high.
Mm-hmm.
I have seen them up where I'm at before doing that, but they're, you just steer away from them.
Steer around them.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of weird.
But it's the ones that are close to the ground is the ones you need to worry about because they're flying up. You can't see under you, so you kind of have to guess. And
I mean, what happens if you whacked one of them? Would it break your propeller or anything on your plane, or just kind of chop it up?
I don't know. I've never done it, but I've heard.
There's a first time for everything.
I've heard a story of a guy who hit one. It missed his prop, but it busted his window.
Oh, geez.
His windshield. So he had to land the plane like that, and I can't remember if I heard that in a podcast or if I read it in a book, but the lesson they were trying to get across was should you declare emergency in that instance, and they were saying a lot of times guys don't want to declare emergency because they're afraid they're going to have to follow up with FAA and a bunch of stuff. But they were saying, yeah, you should. Anything that's could hamper the way you land, anything like that, you should declare the emergency because he had like bird guts all over his windshield,
Was he on a takeoff or landing when that happened? Or was he flying?
I can't remember. I think he was taking off.
So he just had to come back down and
yeah, so he'd have to do a loop in the traffic pattern. And the point they were making, he should have said, declaring a bird strike, I have an emergency. Declaring an emergency from a bird strike, and then just did a loop in the pattern and landed.
I guess I wouldn't see that as I guess it is an emergency to some extent.
That's their whole point. That's their whole point is to not be shy about it and just make sure you can get down on the ground safely.
So why does the FFA have to get involved if you announce, a bird smashed my window out?
I don't really know. I don't know how that works, especially around here because you don't have a tower. There's really nobody to declare the emergency to. Nobody except for the surrounding traffic.
Mm-hmm.
And so like if you put that out on the frequency for the surrounding traffic, they would just know to stay away from the airport until you get landed. That way you don't have to
Okay.
worry about anybody else. You can
Yeah.
do what you need to land. That's the whole.
So when you're taking off, are you having to tell somebody what you're doing, or you just go?
Yeah. You have to. When you get ready to take off, you make a radio call and tell them, whatever aircraft you're in. You say Cessna, Russellville traffic, Cessna 4806 Bravo is taking runway 20, Russellville. And then you make sure no traffic's coming. You pull out on the runway, take off, and ever so often you give them updates to where you are in relation to the
Who are you talking
airport.
to when you're doing
anybody that's in the area.
So you're just talking
it's
to
a radio. It's a radio frequency, and you're talking to anybody that's in the area.
So you're like a truck driver, breaker.
No, they can't. It's a different.
It's different frequency,
Yeah.
but the point is you're kind of talking to your other airplane people.
So if say I'm getting ready to take off, there's a guy 5 miles out coming in to land. So we know where each other we are, Like I can say I'm taking runway 20 if he's 5 miles out and he's in another pretty slow aircraft. I'm going to be out of the way by the time he comes in to land.
Okay.
And he knows that, so. And
like,
then I'll give him updates to where I'm at, so he knows where I'm at and I know where he is.
Sounds too complicated.
It is. I mean, it's not too complicated, but I'm not good enough at it yet to be 100% confident. That's why I like these other airports where there's not many people around.
Yeah. Yeah, so we won't be flying into Atlanta anytime soon.
Gosh, no. I ain't.
Are you even able to fly into Atlanta?
Yeah.
At their big airport?
Is.
So you can fly into big airports too, even
Yeah.
though you're on just a little private little thing. That would terrify me. I mean, just getting in an airplane
You
is
have
scary.
no idea.
You're right, I don't.
When you look at that thing and the air traffic, it looks like a hornet's nest. There's just airplanes everywhere. Yeah. When I went and passed my test, the guy said, "You may be flying into Atlanta." I said, I have no business flying into Atlanta. I said, I won't ever be doing that.
Why did he say you might be flying into Atlanta? Was it part of your courses, or
I
he just
can't
saying?
remember. I think it's just,
Just kind of
saying that.
razzing you a little.
Yeah. But, I mean, a lot of people do. It ain't. I think once you get experienced, there ain't a whole lot to it. The controllers tell you what to do, and they keep everybody separated. There's a whole system to keep everybody separated, and you just do what the controller tells you to do. Plus, you're responsible for keeping the aircraft safe. So if you see a conflict, you have to, do whatever you have to do to keep everything safe. But you're supposed to do what they tell you to do, unless they don't say something and you're fixing to smash another airplane or something like that.
Good grief. I'll just stick to my trucks and
Chevrolet.
motorcycles.
Yeah. But yeah, I need to get back into it. But golly, we've had all kind of setbacks with the airplanes and stuff. So hopefully it won't be long.
Just sell them both and go buy you a Learjet and get it over with. Come on.
Yeah. So yeah.
It'd probably take more.
I wish. Everybody in this county would have to sell everything they own to pay for one of them.
I know, them things are crazy expensive.
Yeah.
Something to work towards,
Yeah, but I'm wanting to get back to flying here pretty soon. I had a friend call me or sent me a text yesterday and was asking me about it. And he's hoping to he said he's got something cooking. He's supposed to let me know today what he's talking about.
Uh-oh.
So we'll see.
Is he a flyer too?
He's a mechanic.
On airplanes?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Huh. You ever thought about flying somebody up there and letting them jump out and
parachute out of your...
I mean, you can if you want to.
I don't even want to get into things, but let alone parachute out of it. It's like, why jump out of something that is perfectly operable? Like,
I'd
if
do
it's...
it.
Of course you would, Brett. Me, I just... Why put myself in a position that I could die if I just don't have to? I mean, I guess you could die driving down the road.
Exactly.
I survived the traffic of Sarasota, Florida, so I guess if I can survive that on a motorcycle, I can survive driving or jumping out of an airplane.
Oh yeah, motorcycle's a lot more dangerous than airplanes.
Especially down there.
Yeah.
It's funny, I have buddies, oh man, it's dangerous riding around here. I think the only thing you really got to watch out for here is deer running out in front of you.
And that's enough.
I don't know, people smash deer all the time. I ain't never had one issue with running a deer over.
You shouldn't have said that.
I know, on my way home, I'll smash a couple of them.
They're not that bad if they're not being chased, but
Yeah.
When they come flying across the road at the wrong time, there ain't nothing you can do.
Oh, yeah. Especially, I mean, most of these highways are, 55, 60 mile an hour.
Yeah.
So, don't have a lot of time to dodge it. So that'd be the only thing I really have to think about when I'm riding a motorcycle out here. I mean, when we were taking our classes down in Sarasota, teacher pretty much said, you need to drive or ride your bike like everybody's out to kill you, because they are. And dadgummit, if he wasn't right. I don't know how many times I've had these little old ladies, I'm cruising 50, 55 mile an hour, and they just like come up to a light. Oh, I'm going to go. And I'm right here, So I always approached intersections, one with my hands ready for the clutch and brake, but also made sure I didn't have anybody near me. So if I had to do a quick dodge, I could just whip around that person. And man, I made sure I had a gun on me too, because people are freaking insane down there, man.
Are they?
Oh yeah. When they say people are out to kill you, they are.
Huh.
I mean, I don't know how many times I've been pull up at a light and there's a truck sitting on top of a motorcycle or sitting on top of a scooter. People that ride scooters are insane down there. Like, motorcycle's dangerous enough, but riding a scooter can't get out of its own way, let alone another vehicle or anything else. And people do it all the time.
Yeah.
And they end up smashed on the road all the time. And it's just getting worse. I mean, good grief, it's been like, I don't know. Well, my kid, let's see. I'm trying to remember the last time I actually rode down there. It was probably, man, probably 12 years ago. And it was bad then. And now it's 100 times worse with traffic. So I couldn't imagine riding it now. I mean, I still got buddies that do, but it's sketchy. It's sketchy. Oh, man. But welcome back, guys, to the Forging Podcast. Me and Brett, we're kind of flying by the seat of our pants today. We're slightly sleep deprived and definitely energy deprived. It's been a kind of a busy
holidays.
Yeah.
I love Christmas time.
Yeah.
I love everything about it. But I was having a conversation with my parents the other day. There is so much going on. So sometimes you just have to say, no, we're gonna miss that.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of things that has become a yearly tradition for my family.
Yeah.
That I ain't missing. Unless I'm sick or something like that.
Yeah.
But we went up to Huntsville. It's called Buried on the Mountain. And it is they do a Christmas thing every year. They've got all these probably 10 cabins with different music in them. Old school music like banjos, fiddles, guitars, singers. There's an a cappella group. I think they're called the Huntsville Rockets or something like that.
Okay.
And there's a couple of ladies, older ladies, who they play a hammer something. I can't remember the name of it, but I've never seen this instrument before. It's a stringed instrument. It looks like a table, and they're hitting the strings with these sticks.
Really?
Yes, and it's beautiful.
Huh.
It's pretty cool.
That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, but we love doing that every year. So we went there this past weekend. We had a church skeet shoot Saturday.
What?
Yeah, I should have told you about
Yeah,
that. That's
gee,
my bad.
You know, whatever.
And then,
but just because I'm not a Baptist, all of a sudden I can't be
yeah,
involved in
well,
the cool kid games.
You know, yeah, you're gonna have to.
I'm gonna have to convert.
Yeah, come over to the right way, and then we'll talk about the skeet shoot.
I'm just glad that I'm far enough away from you for that lightning to come strike you.
But we got, all this stuff, and everybody's exhausted, and you can lose the true purpose of what all this is.
I think most people have forgotten what the real purpose of it is.
I think I don't think they forgot. If you asked them, they could
well,
tell
they
you.
would say it, but when you look at how they're doing things and
Yeah,
all that's going on,
yeah.
it's like, well, is that really the priority? No, it's not.
Yeah.
It's, all the presents we get to do and all the parties we get to go to and the lights and the decorating and all the whatever. That stuff drives me crazy. It's like
that stuff is great and fun, but it's just like everything else. It's got commercialized. Money's a big deal in it, but when you get down to it, it's aside from the resurrection, it's one of the greatest miracles that's ever happened in human history.
Yeah.
Babies born from a virgin.
Yeah.
Except
we're not sure that it even happened on December 25th. And Santa Claus wasn't there for it,
Yeah. But it's really a really nice time of year. There's a lot of hurt that's going on this time of year too. We went caroling last night.
Really?
With a church, and
daggone, I was a kid when we went caroling. It's been a long time since I've done that.
Really?
Yeah.
It's pretty. People still do it up here.
Really?
Yeah.
Where do you go to do that?
Just different people's houses. Like,
so the reason I asked that is, when I was a kid and doing it, coming from Sarasota, there's retirement communities everywhere. You just go into, stick your finger on a map and there's a retirement community there, and you just go there and you sing at all the doors. But here, and unless you're like in the city, everything's more spread out. So, I mean, you'd be walking. I mean, good grief, how close is your neighbor? Half mile down the road?
Yeah, that's what we did. We didn't, you don't walk. You drive to different people's houses, and people who are sick, elderly, shut-ins, that kind of thing. Widows, so
you kind of know who you're going to.
Yeah, you know where you're going.
Okay, you're not just like, we were like picking just people's places and standing out front and singing.
Just random places.
Yeah, random.
Yeah.
We're singing here. But it was like, if you stood in this one spot, you could be singing to 4 doors,
right,
4, 5, 6 doors, people could hear you. But, so that's interesting. I mean, it's been a long time for the caroling. I haven't seen that in years. And
we were talking in Sunday school about getting more outward focus as a church, and being the hands and feet, ministering. And that is this time of year, that is one of the easiest things to do that is extremely fruitful. Because, I know we had at least 3 last night that meant the world to.
Really?
Yeah. And if you go to a nursing home, our Sunday school class did it at a nursing home a couple years ago.
Okay.
And that will just melt your heart if you go do that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, get you a group and go caroling in the nursing home.
Oh, man. I'm not promising I will, but, I'll root you guys on from the back row.
I'm telling you, you need to do it.
Yeah, I think my kids would love it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's what lights them up,
Yeah.
the people in the nursing home when you come in there with kids, and I got 5 kids, you got 6, I mean they'll light up like a Christmas tree over that.
Yeah, I know. I'm pretty sure our church, I think it was our church, did something in a nursing home last year. I don't remember what the heck it was, projects or something with the people there or something. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I never thought about it. I don't think our church does caroling. I guess it could. I don't know.
See, those are the things to me that are the most important. We were going over, I can't even, maybe it was in Mark, I can't remember, but they asked Jesus what's the most important of all the commandments, right? And he says, love your God with all your heart, mind, strength. Maybe that isn't exactly quoted right. And then love your neighbor.
Yeah.
And if you can do that perfectly, you can keep the law. But of course we can't.
No, we can't.
But, if you can go do an act of love like that around this time, man, it's powerful. And
Yeah,
it means just as much for you as it does the people in the nursing home.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
That's cool. So you yourself were actually singing, Brett?
Um,
Or were you just kind of humming along?
Negative.
No singing from Brett? You were just there for the ride?
I was singing with my heart.
Oh.
I can't sing.
Yeah.
I play the guitar, but I can't sing.
Yeah. I can't sing and can barely play the guitar.
I wish I could. If I could, I'd sing all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get tired of hearing me sing.
Oh, man. Well, that's cool. So you guys are caroling. I texted you yesterday, and it took a while for you to respond. I'm like, I don't know what this dude's up to.
Yeah, that's
now
what
I know
doing,
you're out daggum caroling.
I didn't even see I had that message till I think we got home. I don't even remember, but it was well past after you sent it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I sent something else again just to kind of make sure that I'm like, Brett, everything good? Like,
yeah, I didn't see that one either. Still.
Oh, Carol and Brett. Dude, we laid low yesterday. I had no energy to do nothing. Our little dude wanted to be up all night. All night. Of course, part of it's probably our fault because we switched rooms around in the house. And we separated our older two from the younger. We had 2 rooms with our kids in it and then 1 room's for the foster kid. And it'd be cool if we had a room for every kid. The reality is they all like to sleep together anyways, so it would be pointless. It'd just be more room for add guns maybe. I could have a couple extra gun rooms, but we decided to move the older 2 into their own room now. They're getting older and it'd be nice for them to have their own space. So then our foster room was probably one of the biggest rooms besides the master that we have. And it's like, we got one little dude. He might as well go where the twins are because they had the smallest room. And then we moved the twins in with Remy and Adeline because we have a 4-bunk bed thing in there. So now they got that room, and the older's got the front room by the living room. And I don't know if moving him messed up his sleeps. I don't even know, but he was not having it. Either way, he wasn't having it. Had us up all night, and then we've had coyotes. We had a daggum coyote or something kill a deer out on our front property.
Really?
Dogs, like I would say most of last week has been sleep deprived because we have dogs outside. And, we got pigs and chickens and stuff, and so the coyotes are kind of stick around, but they've been getting closer in lately, like really close, like right outside our window close. And so the dogs are just going crazy every night. So we get up and go out, see what's going on, nothing. I was like, what are you barking about? Well, a couple mornings ago, I went out and was just kind of walking around, like trying to figure out what these dogs are doing in this one specific spot that kept barking. And I walked down past the pigs and looked down, and there's a doe dead in the brush. And I'm like, what the crap? And I know it wasn't my dogs. And it had the area, her gut sac was ripped out. I'm like, well, it must have been a coyote. That's the only thing I can think of. And so I'm like, well, that makes sense why my dogs are throwing a fit. The coyote's probably been eating on it and whatever. So then, next night I go out because they're going crazy, and my dogs have eaten on it a little bit. And I go down in the woods and it's gone. Or I go down in the brush where it was and it's gone. Well, we had an old Aussie, and he was down in this brush barking. And I'm like, what is going on? And then all of a sudden, a couple coyotes run off. So I'm assuming they had him surrounded next because he was tangled up. And I'm like, what the world? So I said, Oso, what are you doing? Come on, man. Come on. And he's like in this spot between a couple of trees. And he's like, goes forward a little bit and he turns around and goes back. And he's only just covering this little spot. I'm like, what is going on? And I'm looking off and I can see the eyes of the coyotes way off. Far enough to where they were positioned in a place where if I shot at them, I might hit somebody's house. We have a neighbor just past us. They ain't hardly ever there, but I didn't want to shoot that direction. But it was like 1:30 in the morning. And so I'm like, oh, so come on, what's the problem? So I'm finally walking around a little bit, and I'm like, I'm going to go check on him. Like, what? Maybe he got hurt. So I walk down next to him, and he's tangled up in something. I'm like, dadgummit. Like, if I had left him all night, he probably got killed. So I got him loose and walking around. I'm just trying to figure out what's going on. And coyotes, they take off. I heard a couple of them run through the brush. Couldn't find the deer. I don't know where that thing went. They must have drug it across the road or whatever.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's just like every night the dogs are barking, carrying on, keeping us up. And for me, when I wake up in the middle of the night, I have a hard time going back to sleep. So I have to go out in the living room, turn the TV on, turn something boring on so I can fall asleep. And then eventually I do. But then it's like the second you're like right there, right on the verge of going out, boom, they're barking about something going on again. It's like, dadgummit. So the one night I actually we have another dog that's really old, Coda, is that she just always has to bark about nothing. So I brought her in the house. I thought, well, I'll just bring her inside and maybe she'll quit. Well, I don't know. So then our little dude being changed rooms over, and I'm like, man, I'm going to have to build me a cabin out back so I can go out and sleep outside. But either way, we're surviving. We're here. We're doing good. But in that, I kind of been lax on studying and getting in the Word. I just, half time I'm looking cross-eyed trying to make it.
Yeah.
But I wanted to kind of go over a little bit, talking with Jason last week on surrender. Though that was a request from somebody else, I was like, man, it was so timely for me. You guys, I'm trying to remember everything that was discussed, but just surrendering everything to God. You were talking about surrendering your family, your finances, all that to God. And that's interesting because I've been needed to do that and hesitant. And I don't know why. I go back to this. Why is it? It's always like the last resort to just trust in God for something. Yeah. It's like I've just got to accomplish it.
I had a conversation. I can't remember what we talk about on each podcast, and then what I've talked about on Wednesday nights, and what I've talked about in Sunday school. I get all this kind of. I can't remember. So if I say the same thing over and over, I'm sorry to the people listening.
They'll be okay.
I was having a conversation with a friend of mine about this topic, and I can't remember if it was after the podcast came out or before. But for me, surrendering over my family was the last. It's like I didn't want to do that, and I think that's kind of what you're communicating.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's the same for everybody because or a lot of us, because this guy I was talking to is having trouble with the same thing, surrendering over his kids and what's going to happen to his kids after he's gone. He does a lot of worrying about that, and that's natural.
Yeah.
Well, I could easily start worrying about the same thing. What's going to happen here? Because this place ain't going to keep going if I'm not here.
Yeah.
But they're his anyway. We all are. Everything is. He created it.
Yeah.
It's all his. He's in complete control. And we get disillusioned that we're in control. We're the ones holding this together, and we're not.
Yeah.
you know, and
We could barely hold ourselves
if
together.
you,
let alone
you just
anything.
let that go and say they're yours, I'm going to do the best I can with them while you've trusted them under my stewardship or whatever you want to call it, my responsibilities. Man, it's very freeing. Everything about Jesus is.
Yeah.
Whenever you turn it over, finally give him everything, you can finally be free.
Yeah.
And it's the best thing ever, you know. It's not that you don't care, you're still doing the best you can.
Yeah.
But it's not on you to make sure everything's okay, you know.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah. Well, you know, one thing I've had a hard time doing is surrendering my finances over because everything I do is like, well, I just got to do this, whatever, you know. And so I was out in the shooting house and waiting for a nice deer to come out so I could put it on the dinner table. And I was thinking about what we talked about, and it's how I'm always trying to control the outcome of all these things. I'm finally like, you know, thinking about what we talked about, and just, I'm like, you know, it's time for me to just stop. I allow that to beat me down, to stress me out. I mean, you guys know. You guys,
I've been there.
You guys
I've
read
done
my
the
mail
same
all the
thing.
daggum time. And, you know, and it's just like, you go through times when things happen, whatever it may be, and it's not always in your control. But you've got to trust God. You've got to lean on God, especially when you can't do a whole lot about it.
Yep.
You know,
How much do you control anyway? It feels like
probably not much because I can't control myself.
It feels like you control a lot, but in reality, you really don't. You know.
Yeah.
I mean, just like you were saying, we were talking about the airplanes.
Mm-hmm.
You even made the comment, I can have a wreck on the way home. Absolutely, you can.
Yeah.
You know, you can. I mean, it's unlikely, but a dang meteor can fly through this building right now and smash me. You know,
That sounds kind of crazy. We should have some cameras set up outside. You know, that way our families can make money off the video footage.
I'm just saying, you know, the economy, the way it's turned.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we have no control over that. You have no control whether a tornado rips up your town.
That's
You
true.
have no control of whether you get diagnosed with cancer. You know, we don't control as much as we think we do.
Yeah.
So why not just put it in his hands and quit worrying about it? I mean, he tells us, you know, let tomorrow take care of itself.
Yeah.
Just worry about today.
Well, it's
what you got in front of you.
Like Jason said, it's the attitude test too. You know, how are you going to allow it to? How are you going to allow it to affect?
This is one of my favorite verses, and this kind of, once I started my journey of surrender, this is the verse that I have fell back on so many times, but it's probably my favorite verse, and I'm going to read it out of the NLT because I like one specific part of this translation better.
Okay.
He says, I have told you all this so that you may have peace in me. Here on earth you will have many trials and sorrows, but take heart, because I have overcome the world. That is a powerful verse to me, you know. Once you give it all to him, he's overcome the world. Just put your faith in him, and then you're along for the ride.
But how is that? That sounds easy. It's easier said than done.
It ain't easy.
Because it's like, well, just put your faith in him, you'll be all right. It's like, okay, but I'm living this circumstance right now.
Exactly. Yep.
And I want to, but it's like, you know, what are we going to do? It's so with the economy going like it is, and hopefully old Trumpy will turn it around, but he's not in yet, so it's still going downhill until he does. You know, work's getting harder. People aren't able to afford as much as they were, and you know, so I'm sitting out the shooting house. I'm like, you know what, God, I surrender our finances. I surrender the business. I surrender my family, everything to you, because I'm tired of it weighing me down and dragging me down and putting me in a bad mood, position,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay. So I tell my wife, this is what's going on. Next day I get a call from a customer. I already had this job set. I'm going to be doing it. They call and cancel.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, God. Okay. This is not my version of me surrendering my work to you. It's like, I've had several cancellations this year just because people ain't got money. Or they had it and something fell through, whatever it was. And I'm like, okay, I gotta keep a positive attitude and just thank God for what I got and what's going on. And that's hard to do when you're hit with another cancellation.
Yeah, exactly, it is.
I'm like, okay, well, God's got something.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm doing my best not to boo-hoo and feel sorry for myself.
Yeah.
And I did pretty good. I mean, I feel like I was passing the attitude test pretty good. And so I'm like, all right, Lord, well, I gave this over to you, so I'm trusting that whatever that was about, it's going to work out.
Yep.
So here we're working on a job. And
hey, can I stop you for 1 second in the middle of the story?
Go for it.
So that right there, where you just said, is where most people are going to say, I gave this over to you and you're letting me down.
Yeah.
That's where most
and back
people,
in the day I probably would have.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, yeah.
I've been there. And that's where we in our flesh want to go.
And it's and it's not that it wasn't like this little bit of a battle, because I'm like, I got to pass that attitude test.
Yeah.
I keep going on that, and that's probably not a biblical thing, but it's just like, am I going to allow my circumstance? I gave it over to God. Now, am I really giving it over to Him?
Exactly.
Or am
There
I
you
just
go.
saying
Yep.
it?
Yep.
So,
am I just saying it, or did I really?
And
give
I
it
don't
to
want to just be saying it. I want it to be legit.
Yeah.
I said I'm giving it to you, God. Okay. I see my circumstance is not looking so hot.
Yeah.
But I'm giving it over to you.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, okay, all right, God, this sucks. I hope that the situation turns out good, whatever. And it was that I think it was that evening, a guy approached me at the job where I was working and said, hey, you guys carpenters? I'm like, oh, yeah. He goes, you guys do tile work? I said, yeah. He said, okay, I got some tile work I need done. And I'm like, okay. And he said, it's just a small job, but I just need it fixed. I'm like, okay. And I said, well, maybe I can come out this Saturday and take a look at it, whatever. Well, and then I think it was even a little bit before he come out, the people I was working on building a storage room for them, like, hey, we need you to redo a bathroom for us because family's moving, whatever. We need a bathroom redone. I'm like, okay. So God's kind of replenishing what I was losing. Okay. I'm hanging in there, God. So, okay. So I go out and meet this guy Saturday, and I'm looking at his work, and I'm thinking, yeah, it's just gonna be a small job, it'll be a once and done thing, and whatever. It's just like a day's worth of work. It's really not that big of a deal. Well, I get to talking to this guy. He's giving me his background, his life story, his testimony of stuff that God's brought him through. And in the grand scheme of things, I have a bunch of other work. We'll do this and we'll see how things go. And I might have you do this. I might have you do that. I'm like, okay, so I lost this little thing. I gave it all over to God. I lost this little thing. Maybe He was opening that door for me to take all this more, because everything this guy is looking to have done is probably 5 times the amount of income that one job I lost, was it?
Yeah.
It's just, it was kind of a thing for a while where I was losing work here and there just because people all of a sudden hours were being cut on their job, or this property didn't sell, or something happened to where they didn't have the finances to do their work anymore. And it was significant work. So I'm like, dadgummit, this economy sucks. And prices of materials are up, all that. So it kind of like it kind of gave me hope too at the same time. Like, you know, I surrendered things. Then all of a sudden the devil's like, hey, I'm going to just see if I can't throw a wrench in this or whatever. And I could have easily let it just tear me down and just ruin everything. And I slightly complained about it, but it wasn't like I was mad and angry and hurt over it. It was just kind of like, daggum it, you know, another one bit the dust. But okay, God, I'm trusting you. I'm trusting you.
Yeah.
And so I meet this guy, and he starts telling me his life and stuff that he's been through. And the stupid little things that our lives sometimes, things that happen in our lives that we allow to just get us down. Like even just work. I know I've let work get me in a bad place a lot of times just because I'm relying on myself to supply for my family when God supplies all of my needs. And this guy's talking about how he fell down a 98-foot dam and he's still alive. Dude landed on a barge, 98 feet, and hit a barge that shouldn't have even been parked where it was. He's still alive. He's had a heart attack since, still going. And the one thing that he was saying is his priorities weren't straight. He says, I did the church thing. I taught Bible, or let's see, I'm probably going to botch the story a little bit. I'm praying. I want everybody listening to pray that I can get this guy to come on and give his testimony because, man, it was so impactful. It was unbelievable. But he did the church thing. He did the Sunday school thing, et cetera, et cetera. You know, he was living the quote-unquote Christian life, but didn't have his priorities straight. And he didn't go into detail on what necessarily those priorities were, but I'm sure it was, you know, chasing money and kind of letting his family sit in the background is what I'm assuming. Because what he did was a money-making job until he fell 98 feet. And, you know, and we're just talking, and he's talking about how he couldn't go to the hospital in Huntsville, I think it was, or Florence. They ended up having to ship him out to Atlanta to a surgeon that only a hospital or something that only deals with head and spinal injuries. And, you know, he was telling me how he was in this section with several other people that had, I don't want to say similar problems, but had injuries. He was like in a coma for like 13 months. Like, so he had to learn how to talk and walk and write and do all these things again and exercise. Like, I guess there's a lot going into it. And, of course, he was in a section with other people similarly, you know, going through rehab and all these things. And he's like, you know, so the doctors are trying to get us to work our arms and do different exercises to work our arms. And the people just didn't want to do it. So he's like, you know, I made a phone call to somebody and asked them to bring out 5 5-gallon buckets and some fishing poles. And he put $20 bills in each of them. And the goal was to cast the line into the bucket and you get the $20. Well, that got the people excited because these people all of a sudden are so excited to do that. And what it was doing is they were exercising the arm. Mm-hmm. The doctors were using what they're taught, you know, their exercises that they're taught to do, and that's it. You know, it's kind of like by the book kind of thing. And he was thinking outside the box. Like, I've got to figure out a way if these people are going to get better. And he was also going through it. But if these people are going to get better and I'm going to get better, we've got to think of ways that attract people to want to do these things. Because I can only assume that when you're in that position, you're probably halfway given up on life. Like, you're just like, I can't do anything. I know when I had my motorcycle accident, it was like 2 months that I couldn't do anything. The pain that I was in and all that, and you start getting depressed. Mm-hmm. I can't imagine 13 months of a coma to however many more months of, you know, trying to build back up. It was more than just a couple months. So these people probably depressed and just halfway given up. So he kind of gave them, God used him to give these people something to look forward to, something to work at and get excited about. And so then they did that. And then, I don't know if I should tell this one or not. I probably won't. He told me another story about how he got some other guy to get excited to work out. I'll just tell it. Who cares? He was telling me that there's this guy that I guess they're given like inner tubes or something for like bicycle tires or something to to kind of just stretch out, kind of do like butterflies with or something and stretch them out. Yeah, something like that. And just to build their arm strength and shoulder and back strength a little bit. And the guy just didn't want to do it. So I guess they're given allowance to go and kind of learn how to reintegrate, and spend money, manage it. They were given like so much money and like $20 or something they could go spend anywhere. And they'd spend the money and then they have to kind of come back and document. I guess just relearning how to do things. I've never been in a coma, so I don't know how all that works, but you must lose a lot of whatever in that process. So this one guy, he didn't want to work out, but he had the hots for this one lady nurse. I mean, had the hots for her. So, so he goes, so when it was our turn to go out and buy something, he goes, I want to go to Victoria's Secret. And Victoria's like, you can't go to Victoria's Secret. He says, it's my money. I'm allowed to go spend it however I want. I want to go to Victoria's Secret. So he goes into Victoria's Secret, and he asked for the biggest thong that they had.
It's a big lady, I guess.
I guess. And the other guy was into it. So he buys this huge thong, and he takes it back, and he says, to so-and-so from so-and-so, whatever, just to kind of spark this guy's excitement. So
that's bold.
Yeah. So the guy takes it, and next thing you know, he's working out with this thong. Then, I don't know. He kind of just gave me nips of the story, but I was dying laughing. He's telling me all this. And it got the guy excited about working out to try to, I guess, attract the lady or whatever. But God was giving him things. This guy was literally almost died. He said he died 5 times along the way. So, but yet he's still here. God gave him ways to make the best of his situation, what he was in. And he could have easily boo-hooed and felt sorry for himself and just sat here in a corner and just withered away. He was told he'd never walk. He was told he'd be a vegetable if he even survived any of this stuff. And this dude is like up and building stuff, and he's a welder and walking. He said he's had a heart attack. They cut his chest from the top all the way down to his groin area and then down his legs because he had several blockages. This dude's walking. He says, I'm walking marathons or something like that. He walked from Haleville to his house, which is, people don't know what that distance is, but it's a long ways, a long distance. He's done that, and he's walked from Florence to his home. He lives in North Hamilton.
Dang.
In Florence, yeah.
That's
a
long
haul. So, the guy's just continuing on. And every time he'd tell me snippets of how, my priorities weren't right, but now they are. And he would start tearing up. It was like he knew God didn't like put him through all this stuff, but he allowed him to go through it. And he passed the attitude test. I keep going back to that attitude test. I really like what Jason was saying about that, because really, how are you allowing your circumstances to control you? And this is what my little baby issue of my business and jobs. And I'm sitting here listening to this guy, and I'm thinking, all the frustration that I have with my stuff and all the feeling sorry for myself on my end. It's like this dude went through legitimate things, and here I am wanting to complain about my stupid little things that bother me.
Yeah.
And it was cool to see that he allowed God to use him and not give up on his faith, not give up on life, because he could have easily given up on life and probably be dead, But he allowed God to use him, and in that, he was able to bless other people and help other people, and he's still to this day blessing people and helping people. I mean, it's just unbelievable. He's like, I've got my priorities right now. Before I didn't. He still followed God, but he didn't have his priorities right. And I'm not going to try to tell the whole entire story and every bit of detail that he gave me, because it's not mine to tell.
The priorities thing is even, for me and Courtney, we're constantly having to readjust, and Courtney's in the middle of some of that right now. But if you can hold those priorities, your first priority is your relationship with God, the Father, Jesus, Holy Spirit. Your second priority is your wife.
Yeah.
For us, we're married. is our wife. Third is our kids. Fourth, after that, I don't. Those are the big three.
Yeah.
Get those right.
Yeah.
And then, whether you put church or your job, however, one of those two, extended family, my extended family would probably come before either church or job. I'm in a situation to where I'm blessed enough that my job can do without me more than a lot of these other things can. But if you can hold those priorities, they're constantly under attack. Somebody's always going to be vying for your attention. More, is going to be demanding more of you.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
And the first one that really tends to slip is the first priority. Your relationship with God.
That's so true.
That's usually the first one that slips.
Yeah.
Guess what the second one is?
Your marriage.
Your second priority. Yeah. That's usually the way it goes.
Yeah.
But if you can hold those two, the top three, those are the if you can hold those top three, most of your decisions are already there if you just weigh it against your priorities.
Yeah.
But it's so hard to do that because you're constantly getting everybody's needing something, and there's for most people, job is just extremely hard to keep where it needs to be because that's where you spend the majority of your time.
Yeah.
And so that's really, really hard to keep it where it needs to be.
Yeah.
It's easier for me because of the situation I'm in. But even for me, it can get into taking away from either Courtney or the kids. Usually I'm pretty good about keeping it from getting in the way of the relationship I keep between me and God. But, you have to sleep.
Yeah.
And you can only go on sleep deprivation for so long. You can do it for a certain amount of time, but you can only do it for so long. And then work, for most people, it's 8 to 10 hours a day. That's a lot.
Yeah.
So everything else is hard to keep there, especially when the world's telling you got to do this mountain of other stuff. Kind of going back to what I was talking about with the Christmas season.
Yeah.
You got to do all this stuff. No, you don't.
Yeah.
Make sure you get those 3 priorities right, and then everything else kind of fall in its place.
Yeah.
And with this, back to the surrender with the job thing, you're kind of going through it right now, and it's.
I feel like I've been going through it for a hot minute.
That's the way it is a lot of times.
But I'm finally giving it over to God and just saying, it don't matter what I'm doing. I got to go out and do my best and let the chips fall where they may. And really, it's kind of opening me up to thinking of different business opportunities and things to get into. Anyways, like I'm getting fired up and geared up to get back into the gun repair world, and that's something I've been passionate about for a long time.
And you go ahead and give that to him.
Yeah.
And you say, if this is where you want me, put me there.
Yeah.
Open doors, get me in there, however it is. I'm in that season right now with some other things. But, what I've kind of found my way into, and I don't know if this is right or not, but I will, if I have an idea for a business or whatever, I'll start praying about it. Are you with me in this? Or are you taking me into this?
Yeah.
Is your hand going to be on this? And if I feel like the answer is yes, if it's not possible, right in that moment, I'll just sit and I'll wait for something to open up,
Yeah.
some kind of opportunity, whatever it is, The guy that sent me a text the other day, I still don't know what it's about, but I'm a little bit suspicious of whether God's fixing to open a door.
Yeah.
Don't know.
Yeah.
And it's up to him.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. Hey.
But
Never know.
we'll see. But that's it. That's where I try to stay with that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I spent years stressing over this farm and wanting it to be successful and doing everything I can, just breaking my back. And, couldn't do it. Couldn't do it on my own.
On your own, yeah.
And
I think we're required to be out there busting our butt and getting it done, but we have to put it on God. Like, God is the one that's applying it to start with.
Yeah. And like I like to hope that I'm at the place. Don't know because this hadn't happened. I haven't walked through it, but I'd like to hope that if a tornado took everything I've got right now, that I could just shrug my shoulders and say, all right, so where we going next?
Wow, yeah.
That's where I'd like to hope that I am.
Yeah.
Don't know if I am or not, but that's where I hope I am.
Yeah. That's a hard place to get to.
Yeah, it is.
But
and
that's
it's hard
where he
to
wants
do in
us.
the moment, too.
That's where he wants us, because all
Fear
of this stuff is
comes in.
temporary. God is eternal. God is always there,
Mm-hmm.
no matter what we're going through. And sometimes we have to have, like that guy was saying, his priorities are wrong. Like, sometimes we have to have what matters most to us taken in a very dramatic, extreme way for us to say, oh, okay, God, now I'm listening. You took everything from me, now I'm listening. Yep. I don't want to be that guy. I was telling you last week, don't be praying that my life gets wrecked, you know what I mean? But sometimes, as men, we're stubborn, and we rely on ourselves way more than we do God and our abilities and what we're doing. And sometimes we just have to be put in our place to realize that, it's not us, it is God, and we just have to rely on Him. So the quicker we realize that we just have to rely on Him and surrender to Him, the better, because we may not have to go through some of them hard things. Maybe, I don't know. I guess I shouldn't put that claim out there, but I feel as if we're quick to surrender to God, surrender everything to Him, and just know that He is in control of this, and stop putting it on us as we are controlling it all, because we're not. Now, if you're sitting at home being freaking lazy, that's not. God's not going to honor that either. If you're out doing your best and working hard,
people that want to argue this, they'll
because I could see it be taken to an extreme the wrong direction.
They'll run to the extreme.
Yeah. Oh well, so you're just saying just sit at home and do nothing? Yeah. Well, no, you still got to get out and do something. Yeah. He honors those that are out working hard and trying and living for Him and trusting Him. But you can't just sit at home. Well, I'm going to play video games and I'm just trusting God that something's going to show up and expect to ring at the doorbell with a truck full of $100 bills. That's not what we're saying.
Yeah.
We still got to be out working hard and doing our thing. But that was just a good reminder for me, that this week, in general, and I didn't have a bad week. It was just interesting that, I go from, all right, I'm going to surrender, like we talked about on that podcast. I'm going to surrender it over to God and just trust Him that He's going to take care of it, to then have another negative thing happen. I'm like, well, God, I said I was surrendering it to you. So how real am I?
Yeah.
I'm serious. I am surrendering it over to you. Yep. So I know you're going to open opportunities for me. And He did. And I got to meet a dude that just reminded me that it doesn't matter what you're going through life. There's somebody that's always got it harder.
Exactly.
And it's gone through worse. Yep. And it's really cool to see people that have gone through extreme circumstances like this guy, just honoring God through everything he's doing, getting his priorities straightened out, God first, and then he's ministering to others and reaching others in a way that may not seem like a big deal, but it's huge and impactful. And I mean, me just spending, I spent probably a couple hours with him, talking with him. I'm just like, wow. I left there just amazed at how somebody can go through what he did and still have God as his first priority. It was amazing, because I can't say that I've always would have been that guy myself. Thank God I didn't get put through anything like he did. But it's just a good reminder, like, God's not tearing you down, but he'll allow you to go through things to get your priorities right.
Mm-hmm.
And just because you surrender doesn't mean that all of a sudden everything's perfect.
Exactly, yeah.
So where's your attitude about these circumstances when you're going through the moment too?
Then you find out if you're for real.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about when you was talking about this guy, when you get on rock bottom like that and you don't, there's nothing left.
Yeah.
You don't really it's almost easier because you've really only got
nothing left.
Exactly.
You've got nothing to lose.
Because you've only got two choices, really. You can either give up completely and just wait to die.
Yeah.
Or you can put your faith in something, whatever it is. Different people's going to be different things, but we're Christians. We put our faith in God, say, hey, I can't do this. You're going to have to take it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when amazing things can start happening.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that's this guy's story.
Oh yeah. Because now what he's got going on in his life is just amazing. And he's just like super humble about it and using what he's been given now to bless other people. And it's like, wow. It was just awesome. That's why I really hope we can get him on and have.
So you got a guy who had a great job, making a ton of money.
Yep.
Probably had a lot of confidence and faith in himself.
Probably.
And then in the blink of an eye, the time it takes to fall 100 feet, he can't bring a cup of coffee to his mouth.
Yeah.
What else you got? Yeah, I mean, you can't do anything at that point. So
just the fact that he's still alive from that is a miracle. And I told him, I was like, dude, God is using you for something huge, because I mean, man, it was just, it was insane. Mm-hmm. Just his story was insane. I'm like, man, but it just reminded me, man, God is good always. And whatever you feel like you may be going through, somebody's probably going through something worse. And a lot of times they might be leaning on God and saying, hey, I'm still trusting you. I know you're going to carry me through it. And he brings them through it. Maybe it goes the other way. I don't know. But so, and I had a couple lessons taught there, really. I'm still surrendering my stuff to God and look at the blessings that he's bringing because of it. But then also quit feeling sorry for yourself for stupid things. Really.
Yeah.
Because I got to be hit in the face with reality because I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
And he's just like, quit being stupid. Quit being a baby about the stupid little stuff. People are out here really hurting and struggling and almost dying, and they're out doing everything they can to honor God. I'm like, man, okay. So it was cool.
Yeah. And you can kind of see that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You prayed, I'm surrendering my career, finance, whatever, to you.
Even my family. That process, I'm surrendering my wife, my family, everything. And it's not that we're having troubles in our marriage or anything. We're not. Mm-hmm. It's just, if I'm going to surrender this, I need to surrender everything and just know that God has got them.
Yeah.
And
then, and then you lose a job.
I'll lose a stinking job.
Figure out, where are you? Do you mean this?
Yeah.
Are you for real?
Yeah.
Are you really going to trust me?
And it was a small battle. It was a little bit of a battle. I'm like,
and then you're like,
it's okay.
You're like, all right.
It's okay.
I'm trusting you.
Yeah. I said I was giving it to you, God. I'm trusting you.
And then you get the next job with a guy who has a story that, where you're like, oh, it could be so much worse.
It could be,
you know.
Yeah.
And look what this guy's been through.
Yeah.
You know, those are small little loving lessons that I believe he sends us.
Yeah.
All the time.
Little opportunities for us to open our eyes and see how good he is.
Just got to have our eyes open.
And are we willing to accept the little love gift, or are we still going to keep feeling sorry for ourselves?
Yep.
Because if we continue down the road of feeling sorry for ourselves and boo-hooing, well, who's to say we won't end up in a situation like that to really open our eyes? So I'm like, for me, I want to take every little grain of love he wants to send me and utilize it, because I don't want to be the guy that has to go through the worst stuff to realize how good God is, because I know how good he is.
Yeah.
And so it was cool. It was kind of a weird week, sleep deprivation to loss of job, but to eyes being open to so much greater things, and surrendering to God, my business, my family, etc. Like, that's why, I mean, this podcast isn't just for everybody listening. Like, it's for me. I know I've grown. I'm sure Brett's grown. It's an all-encompassing growth process, and it's awesome. I mean, that's why we have the people on that we do, because I feel like they really can pour into this ministry and help us in many ways. And even people that are spiritually wise or whatever, you know, like, they got a lot of understanding. They're still learning and gathering from it. So it's cool, man. It's a forging process.
It
never stops. You won't stop growing and learning until you're dead.
Yep.
And then you get to go be with Jesus, hopefully.
Yeah.
If you're saved.
And then, you know, I always think he's gonna say, look, this is what you were going through here, and look what all was happening around you. You know.
Yeah.
Look where I was.
Like, if we could
look what I did for you right here.
Yeah.
You know, and we can't see it.
If we could see from his perspective, we would laugh. We would probably laugh at the stuff that's going on. It's so minuscule a lot of times.
And I think there'll be a lot of, God, I'm an idiot. You know.
I wonder if that's even going to happen. I wonder if, like, when we get there, if we will get a chance to look back on it, or if it's just like we are in such awe of the glory that we're in, you know, with standing there worshiping God and just in his presence, that the rest probably just doesn't even matter.
Yeah, I don't know. I figure we'll
get a glimpse.
Yeah, I think so. I like, you know,
it would be interesting.
This is all just dreaming or whatever, but I would like to imagine sitting around a fire at night with Jesus, and we're talking about you know, all the different battles we've went through, different things, and you know, I just that's a hope of mine.
Yeah,
I think that would be awesome.
That would be cool. That would be really cool.
And I started to say something a minute ago. I don't feel like people understand what I'm saying when I say this, but a life lived with faith in Jesus is the most adventurous thing that I've ever been on. And I got a passion for adventure, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I've done some things and it's been awesome, but nothing like putting your faith in Jesus and walking every day, not really knowing what the future holds, where you're going, doesn't matter as long as I'm with him.
Yeah.
That is the most freeing, adventure-filled life you'll ever live. And if you're not living it, you don't know what you're missing. And I wish I could explain it to you, because it's the most fulfilling life you'll ever live.
Yeah. Yeah, and I kind of think about people that have gone through a lot of hard stuff, and they're the ones that are sitting back still feeling sorry for themselves. You know, God can still use you. God has a plan and purpose for you. And as men, you know, I think we're driven by being needed. We have a purpose, and God gives us a purpose in life to reach the lost, to help the hurting. And I would just encourage even people that are going through hard stuff, just understand God's still there for you. He loves you. He'll carry you through whatever you're going through. Doesn't matter how bad it looks right now, how bad your circumstance looks right now. That guy's circumstance looked like he was going to be dead. Or if he survived a vegetable and the dude is up welding and building stuff and doing all kinds of things. God can carry you through it. He can heal you. He can bring you out of death and give you purpose and give you something to look forward to. I mean, the guy even lost his wife through her passing. I mean, he could be ideal image of somebody just giving up because he lost so much. Like, I even said to him, I said, this is like a Job story. He was like, yeah. But God has given him purpose. Even now, after all he's been through and what he's lost, he's ministering to people in a way that, for me, I didn't live that life, and I don't know that I can minister to people the way he does through what he's gone through. And I guess I'm just thinking, no matter what you've gone through, God can use your testimony to reach people and to inspire people and to maybe help get somebody out of a hole that they're in. And maybe even remind people that their life really isn't as bad as maybe they think it is. And it could be a lot worse. And thank God it isn't. So don't allow yourself to get to that place. But if you're in a place too where you're just, why me? Just remember God loves you and he can use you. And stop feeling sorry for yourself and just say, all right, God, I surrender my situation to you. And I'm going to trust you. And use me however you see fit. And then get out there and if nothing else, just share your testimony. Just share with people what God has done in your life. And pick yourself up and do something. Just stop feeling sorry for yourself. Feeling sorry for yourself doesn't fix it. It doesn't fix anything. It just makes it worse. Mm. But just know that God can use you and he has huge plans for you. If you're still alive, God has huge plans for you, period. So allow him to work through you. And, I guess that's my little ramble. But I just can't help but think about that,
We should never feel sorry for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We're people, so we do from time to time.
Yeah.
But somebody's always got it worse.
They do.
Now, I want to touch on, if we got time, how much time we got?
We got as much time as we need. I don't know how long we've been going because it doesn't speak English in numbers to me. And Blake's not here to tell us what it actually means.
I know a lot of people close to me are dealing with burnout.
Yeah.
And some of them, a lot of us are on the edge of burnout. And it's a real thing, and it's not it's not necessarily feeling sorry for yourself. You just don't have anything left to give.
Yeah.
And it's I've been there multiple times. And we did a whole podcast on burnout a long time ago. And somebody had told me that was the best podcast they had ever heard, period.
Wow.
And that was a heck of a compliment.
Oh, the one podcast that I'm not on. No.
Was you not on it?
No, that was with Adam.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, I was in Florida.
Oh, I didn't know that. But anyway, the burnout thing kind of goes back to your priorities. And this is really hard to do. Yeah, going back to what I said, when you got job, family, you got to put 8-10 hours in on a job, maybe more, and then you got family, and you got you got other people you're serving.
Yeah.
Anytime you're serving people, I mean, it is extremely frustrating and extremely draining. But if you can get back, you've got to take care of yourself first. If you neglect that first priority, you've got to get back to your relationship with God, because that's where your strength comes from.
Yeah.
And you can't pour from an empty cup. Once you're out, you're out. And there's, bad things can happen if you keep going on an empty cup. It's all, if you can't get recharged anywhere else, you've got to go get some alone time with just you and Jesus. Let him fill you back up, whatever that takes.
Yeah.
For me, I'm fortunate enough that one of the best things for me is to go get in the wilderness and the woods and just spend some time with him.
Mm-hmm.
And that really recharges me. I figure everybody's is different. Some people, it may be a four-wheeler ride or a float trip down the creek or reading a book or even watching a movie.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. I tend to like it to be quieter,
mm-hmm.
so I can not be distracted. But you got to get that back. Without that, we're just going to burn out.
Yeah.
And I'm praying for these guys.
Yeah.
I'm praying hard. So I wanted to put that in there because I know there's several people dealing with it.
Yeah. And you can minister to them and encourage them the best you can. And that's going to help. At the end of the day, God will be the one that really fixes their thing, and they have to put their priority back in God.
Yeah.
And yeah, absolutely.
Serving people is extremely hard. It's really hard.
Yeah. That's for sure. Well, I think we're going to close this out. And I hope we did due diligence.
Yeah, I hope so.
Like I said before, we were kind of flying by the seat of our pants. But I think we'll pray and close it out and whatever. So, Father, thank you for bringing us together again. Thank you for giving us little snippets of ways to realize that your love for us is amazing, that you're always here for us, always taking care of us, no matter what we see our circumstances as, you will always be in control. And thank you for helping us realize that surrendering to you is what we need to do. It's only through you that any of this is even possible. We thank you for that. We pray for those who are feeling burnout. Pray that you'll just encourage them, touch them, send your spirit to encourage them again and get them excited about something. Draw them near to you so they get back in the Word and draw closer to you. And bring people across their path that will encourage them and just help them understand that, hey, life could be a lot worse. And give them a little inspiration. And we pray for this week coming up. Everything will go great. People have a great time and make sure that they keep their priorities in check. And we just thank you and praise you again for using me and Brett behind these microphones to share a little bit of hope or your word or whatever it may be. And pray that you continue to use us, guide us and direct us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
We love you guys. We out.
Thank you guys for listening. Check us out on Facebook or Instagram and follow us so you can stay up to date with latest podcast drops and content. Also, feel free to leave us a review on whatever streaming platform you're listening from. We'll catch you next week.